Hi, nice to see you. As you know, a few months ago, Adam sent me from Poland this amazing Sigma 60 to 600 sport version Sigma telezoom. In this video, I will show you in different categories how this lens will perform. This video, of course, will not talk about chromatic aberrations, sharpness or not sharpness in the edges of the frame, but this video will already talk you about the traditional use I do with this lens in different categories. So, if you want to know how this lens works in all these categories with a lot of images, then stay with me. Hi, I'm Mario Kilian and welcome back to another video. Well, the first thing, some technique issues. This lens with this camera weighs almost 4 kilograms. That is a lot of weight just to carry around. It's supposed that a zoom lens, you use it to walk around and it's almost a travel lens. But 4 kilograms always in your hand after 1 hour, 1.5 hours of walk, it's something very, very hard. So I highly recommend to use a shoulder strap. It's the best to carry this lens with you. The second thing is that this lens is a 60 to 600 millimeters lens. What's the amazing about this? Of course, it is almost a 10 times zoom. But the best thing is that this objective is like 2 lenses built in one. Like the lens I had before, the 150 to 600 millimeters, and another 70 to 150 millimeters. So the range of use of this zoom is really awesome. I definitively think that this is maybe the only lens you will need for almost everything. So, my impressions about this. I show you the setup I use for each picture, the setup I use in the camera. And of course, this lens is sharp. But at the beginning, I never could get sharp pictures and I really thought what I'm doing wrong. Or is this lens maybe not a so ultra sharp lens? But the issue was that I was not using the right shutter speed. And that's because the focal length. Because sometimes I want to focus something with just a focal distance, a focal length of just 60 to 100 millimeters and choose a shutter speed 1/600, 1/800. But once I zoom it out, I find that this shutter speed was too slow. And that was my main issue. So I needed to know that I always have to shoot these birds with a high shutter speed, 1/600 at least, to get freeze this moment. Of course, the setup I always use is in manual mode with auto ISO. So let's go now to a lagoon, one of my favorite spots, and take some pictures of birds in flight. In this case, we will see how the autofocus will really work with something so challenging than birds in flight. Let's go. This is one of my preferred spots to take pictures of birds in flight. I know that I will always find some action here. Of course, the settings of this Sigma will change a little bit. The first thing is that I will use, of course, the AFC, the continuous focus mode. I will choose a wider focus area so that I can track the bird during his flight. I will use, of course, a higher shutter speed, 1/2500 at least, to freeze any moment. And the most important thing is, of course, a lot of patience. By the way, something very important I almost forgot is that this lens, in difference with the contemporary model 150 to 600 I had before, is that this sport version is weather sealed. And that is something amazing, especially here in Germany, because I can go out with rain, with snow, no matter, the lens will be okay. And so, now let's see how this lens performs in portrait photography. Usually in portrait photography, I use a 70 to 200 f2.8 lens or a 85mm 1.8. But in this case, I generally like to have a sharp face from the nose to the back to the head. That means that I use an aperture from about 5.6 even to 6, 7.1. That's because I like the sharpness in the whole range of the face. So that means that this lens should do the work. So let's see. I got a stick. Ooh, I got a stick. Ooh, I got a stick. Oh, yeah, I got a stick. I got a stick. Good stick. Ooh, yeah, yeah, I got a stick. Well, now I'm here in a volleyball court. The idea is to take some pictures of action in some very hard conditions for this Sigma in conjunction with this Nikon Z5. The idea is to take pictures of a volleyball game, but that is an indoor sport. So the major goal will be to get nice pictures and trying to not rise too much the ISO, find the right shutter speed. I really don't know how will this lens work in an indoor sports game, but let's see. So let's go. It's very windy up here, but for landscape photos, you have to take advantage of the whole range of the focal length. Try to use 60mm to 600. You can get really close to these amazing places. And of course, showing with 60mm, you show the whole range of the pictures and then zoom in, show the details of this amazing part you want to show. The setup in this camera I use is slightly different than in field photography. Of course, I try to fix the ISO as low as possible I can. When I shoot to 600mm, trying to use a relative fast shutter speed, unless I have some kind of tripod I can put the camera over. The focus area, in this case, I will use a larger focus area. And of course, the aperture I use is between f8 and f11 to try to keep the sharpness in a major depth of field. Well, let's wait to the sunset and take some amazing pictures of the sunset. Let's go down from here. Too much wind and too cold. This is one of my favorite places to take pictures of the sunset. Just let's wait to the afternoon and take some amazing pictures. By the way, I will show you some pictures I took last week when we was absolutely covered of snow of this tower. Just watch the tower. And so, that's all for today. I really hope you like this video and it helps you to take a decision if to buy or not to buy this lens. Personally, I'm very happy with this lens. It is useful for almost everything you need to do. And so, now, go out and take your best pictures. And I hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.
Things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time.